ready to talk about Ratt. Now, as some of you will know, I've already done a Ratt chat video on here in which I basically talked about most or all of the discography. I didn't really review each album. I talked about them a little briefly, but I thought I would take a little more time, go over them an album at a time, and dig a little deeper, hopefully. Today, we are talking about the glorious 1983 Ratt EP, just called Ratt. I have 3 copies of this on vinyl somehow, and all 3 of them are the original pressing with the black and white photo on the back. I don't know how I got that lucky. I actually would kind of like to have one of the remastered pressings that Atlantic did in '84 after Out of the Cellar began to really sell, that had the color photo on the back. This photo. But either way, I really have been looking forward to talking about this album for a long time. Ratt formed officially in San Diego in 1977. Is that amazing to think about, or what? I mean, like I said, they didn't release the EP until '83. That's 6 years later. But Ratt forms in San Diego in '77 with totally different members other than Stephen Pearcy. And it's the same year Kiss puts out Love Gun and Alive 2. Amazing. I never, my God, never would have believed that. I would have thought, well, you know, maybe 80, maybe even 79. But yeah, 77, according to reports and interviews with Stephen Pearcy. So at that stage, they were Mickey Ratt, and went through a gazillion lineup changes before they finally came to the classic lineup here. Pearcy, Crosby, DeMartini, Crucier, and Blotzer. And this lineup actually wasn't complete for very long before this EP was recorded. Warren and Juan were both members of Dokken at one point before this. Now, I think we all know about Juan being in Dokken because he's actually pictured on the back of the Breaking the Chains album. But I didn't know Warren was a member of Dokken until I think about a year ago, when I heard about that on an interview with Don Dokken that I found on YouTube. It is something I'll probably talk about in a little more detail later on when I go through the Dokken albums. But anyway, to my knowledge, Warren never played a note on a Dokken album and was only a member of Dokken for a very small time. Which basically was kind of the same of Juan. As I understand it, And then not at the same time, but both of them wound up, I guess, going back to Ratt as Ratt stood close to getting a record deal, and recorded the EP, and then got their recording contract. Now, the EP was released on August 23rd of 1983 originally. It's 22 minutes and 3 seconds in length, 6 tracks, as you probably all know, on Time Coast Communications record label. And another one called Music for Nations, which was the European label. The EP sold over 100,000 copies, which is fantastic. Now, I don't know how many of those were before the Atlantic re-release and how many were after, but it's still a great number for an independently produced EP. That's just remarkable. The album was produced by Liam Sternberg. Liam Sternberg was an American songwriter and producer who wrote the Bangles hit Walk Like an Egyptian. He worked for other artists, including Kirsty MacColl, Rachel Sweet, Ratt, Fuzzbox, Riff Regan, and Baby Tuku, whom I've never heard of in my life until I started researching this. And also, as a songwriter, Sternberg was the composer of the theme song for the hit TV show 21 Jump Street. Which, if you're old like me, you'll remember. All tracks on the EP were written by Robin Crosby and Stephen Pearcy, except Walkin' the Dog, which was written by Rufus Thomas. It's a cover of actually a song Aerosmith covered. Robin, Stephen, and Warren DeMartini wrote You're in Trouble for the EP. It doesn't actually appear on most copies of the EP, but if you can find an import from Europe, you'll get it on there as well. And it's a different version of the song, obviously. Let's stop for a minute and talk about other musicians who were in Ratt at one time or another. The list is incredibly long, which I'm gonna read through the list, and you'll recognize a lot of these names, most likely. So over the years, between 77 and 82, 83, Ratt had very famously Jake E. Lee, who later went on to be Ozzy's guitarist and formed Badlands after he was fired from Ozzy. Carlos Cavazo at one point, more recently, as most of you know from Quiet Riot. Robbie Crane played bass for Ratt. That was later on for the 99 album and Infestation. Michael Schenker played guitar in Ratt for a time after Robin Crosby was no longer able to tour with the band. Michael Schenker subbed in for him. Michael Schenker, who used to play guitar for the Scorpions, MSG, and UFO. Not in that order. Mark Torian, the vocalist from Bullet Boys, played guitar in Ratt for a time. Matt Thor, who would eventually go on to play bass in Rough Cut. Played in Ratt for a while. Dave Alford, also of Rough Cut. Played drums in Ratt for a while. And Chris Hager, who was one of the Rough Cut guitarists, also played guitar in Ratt for a while. And then somebody named Joey Cristofanilli, who at some point also played bass for Rough Cut, played on the version of You're in Trouble that was recorded for this EP and appeared on the European version as a bonus track. He also, if you'll look at your copy of Out of the Cellar, Joey Cristofanilli is credited as a writer on the song Wanted Man from Out of the Cellar. So basically everyone from Rough Cut almost was in Ratt at some point. It's very confusing. Also, you know, obviously, as I said, players from Ozzy and Quiet Riot and eventually Motley Crue, they all kind of went through Ratt on their way to stardom. Supposedly, George Lynch was this close to being in Ratt for a time, or maybe was, but never did anything of major significance within the band. No recordings. George and Warren have been friends for ever, I guess. And at the point when George was out of Dokken, Warren kind of went to Dokken, and George sort of went to Ratt, I think, for just a little bit. It's really confusing. All of that is kind of sorted out by Don Dokken in a Full and Bloom interview that you can find on YouTube. The cover, as I'm sure almost everybody who's going to watch this will already know, these are Tawny Kitane's legs. Tawny Kitane. And Tawny, of course, dated Robin Crosby somewhere around this period. I really love this cover. I think this is just great. I wish they would have kind of stuck more with this theme after Invasion of Your Privacy or Dancing Undercover. I think that this was pretty iconic stuff, and should have probably gotten some more references throughout the years on their covers. I don't particularly care for the cover of Reach for the Sky or Detonator, to be honest. I think they could have done something better, probably. And I know Tawny was kind of playing for the Whitesnake team at that point, but it still would have been nice. The album's production, not great at all. In fact, to my ears, it doesn't sound nearly as good as Too Fast for Love by Motley. Their independently produced first pressing of Too Fast for Love, to me, sounds much, much better than this EP does, just sound quality wise. And that's because basically The Ratt EP sounds like somebody's playing it in a shoebox every time I listen to it. You know what I mean? Or, you know, it's locked up in your gun safe or your refrigerator or something. It's all very muffled and ill-defined, let's say. Kind of, you know, there's a certain number of what honestly turn out to be some of my favorite albums of all time that all fall into this category together where they sound horribly muffled and boxy. That's the Ratt EP, Kiss Is Hotter Than Hell, Black Sabbath's Born Again. They all have that kind of sound to them. And it's a real shame. I really wish Atlantic would have had the guys go into the studio and re-record this EP before they re-released it. I think giving this EP, the songs on this EP, the sound that Out of the Cellar got, oh, wow, would you have sold a lot more copies? Because these are some fantastic songs for the most part. Okay, speaking of which, let's talk about the songs. The opening track on side one, Sweet Cheater. I gave 5 stars. I love Sweet Cheater, always have, always will. It's a prime example of why I wish they would have re-recorded this thing with a good producer, good engineers, and a really good studio sound. It's a flawless song. I just love it. It's louder, more aggressive than almost anything that came after Out of the Cellar. And I think that's great and deserves a little extra attention and extra time and care to give it to us in a way that we can live with the sound quality of it and really celebrate how great the song is. But unfortunately, of course, we don't get to do that because it sounds like somebody's thrown 30 blankets on top of it, and that's how we're hearing it. But that's okay. I mean, you know, that's what happens. This was basically a lot like Queensryche's EP. This was basically supposed to act as Ratt's demo. And most demos in that day and age kind of sounded this way. It's just how it was. Believe me, they did for quite some time after that, too, in most cases. Track 2, You Think You're Tough. Okay, 5 stars again. Love this song. Everybody does. Does anybody not like this song? They actually gave this song a video, and it's a great video. I love it. Track 3, You Got It. This one I gave 4 stars. It's a great tune. I love it, but it's just not the same. It's not the equal of Sweet Cheater or You Think You're Tough. It's just not. It's a cool tune. They used to open the set with this song back in 80, 82, 83, when they were still playing in LA. And it's a great, great song, but 4-star, not 5. Side 2 on the vinyl, Tell the World. 5 stars. Wow, what a track. This has always been one of my favorite tracks on the EP. And boy, do I wish this one had gotten a better recording at some point. That guitar riff and that beat, the vocal, it's all just really great and aggressive. Track 5, Back for More. Five stars for sure. Now, as some of you will remember from my Rat Chat video, if you watched it, my only real complaint about this song on the EP is those bass farts. One, what were you thinking? Who told you that was a good idea? Who didn't tell you, no, that's a terrible idea? Oh my God. I like this version arrangement-wise better than the version on Out of the Cellar, I think, because it's got that break in the middle where they kind of drop all the distorted guitars out and they do the kind of mellow part. But at the same time, I can't really listen to this version too often because of those bass parts. I mean, also on Out of the Cellar, you can actually hear what Warren's guitar solo, every note, what it is. And so that one usually wins for me. But everything I like better about this one, like that acoustic section, is basically completely ruined by the bass parts. Thanks, Juan. Thanks a lot. Track 6, the final track on the EP, Walking the Dog. The cover, I gave it 3 stars. I enjoy it, but it just doesn't have the appeal that these other songs do. I would have honestly rather gotten another original Ratt song, but it's good. I still enjoy it. Okay, so the single from the EP was You Think You're Tough on the A side, Walking the Dog on the B side. That single was released in '83. Boy, I wish I had a copy of that, huh? Okay, and that's basically the EP right there. Now, something that I like to talk about and research and think about is how did these guys split the lead guitar solos? And on the EP, Robin Crosby played most of the lead guitar. At this point, Robin was sort of, they called him king for a reason. And so, you know, Warren was coming into his own at this point, but he hadn't quite gotten there yet. And most of these songs were written and arranged before Warren got into the band, I think, which meant that Robin was already playing the solos anyway. And, you know, that's just how things worked. But anyway, yeah. So this, the EP gets a total score of 27 stars. Divided by 6 tracks equals 4.5 total stars for the EP. I'll be back in another video after I've gone through all the albums to let you know what that means, where that puts it among the catalog. But as I'm sure most of you have figured out by now, if you've watched many of these, 4.5 is a pretty damn good score. I love this EP. I really do. It is absolutely one of my favorite Ratt albums. And I wish we had gotten more of these types of songs, more of this type of approach from the band. I think would have been fantastic. I mean, I love Out of the Cellar, but having another album in between there that had more of this type of material on it would not have made me unhappy in the slightest. Maybe give it a little better production quality and then call it good, because these guys could write some songs, and it didn't take long to find that out. All right, thanks, Hard Rockers. I'll be back with Out of the Cellar next, and I'll see you then.